Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. I'm Mika. Here at Leap Taken, I talk all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. Sorry, I'm a little late to my own live. I don't think, um, yeah, nobody's there anyway. So when you come on, if you catch us on the replay, I was late. But anyway, today I'm going to be talking about who's who, God and Goddess editions, and I gotta do better with these alerts. Anyway, Who's Who, God and Goddesses edition. So basically, we're gonna break it down. It's gonna be a nice little guide. So buckle up. I have my tea. I'm drinking lemon loaf tea with my love potion cup and saucer. I love this so much for me. Um, yeah, so we're gonna have a nice little conversation about it. And the idea high Insky is to keep it fun, but to learn. Mm, I needed this tea. But we're gonna keep it fun and we're gonna learn. I got on my one of my favorite t-shirts on Wednesdays. We wear pink, mean girls. So I got my shirt on. I'm feeling the vibes. We're gonna get into it. All right, let me fix something here because this is gonna make me a little crazy. I have a light. I'm doing better with the lighting, but it's also in my eyes and it hurts. Anyway, all right, we're gonna do a deep dive. So we're we're going to talk about these gods and goddesses of who they are. And I definitely have notes. I have to. It's like I have like 10 pages of notes here. Who they are, how they show up in different traditions, and ways to work with them in your practice. So this is a somewhat comprehensive guide. Hi there, Empress Goth. All right, so this is also a broad overview. Every tradition is unique, so always do your own research and trust your intuition. Um, and let me know if you're already working with any deities or anything like that. Let me know in the chat and in the comments if you catch it on a replay. So, what are deities in the context of witchcraft and spirituality? All right. So, some witches, literal beings, believe that deities are literal beings. You might be a witch who believes that, and you might have come across witches who very literal. Some witches believe that deities are actual divine entities with personalities, desires, and influence over the world. For instance, Hecate. Working with Hecate as a goddess of witchcraft, receiving omens or visions. For me, she comes in dreams and things like that. So if you believe in a literal being, right? Then there's the archetypal type. So archetypes. So you'll notice this in modern witch. I can't talk. Modern witchcraft, deities can be seen as archetypal for archetypal. I'm sure. Let me take a cup of tea, sip of this tea, because I can't get the words out. I'm not having a stroke. I don't know what's going on. I want to tell you a lot. Mm-mm-mm. Charge it to my head, not my heart, as my grandmom says. In modern witchcraft, deities can be seen as archetypal forces representing human traits. For example, Aphrodite, who I just started working with. Um, she's equated to love. Loki, chaos and trickery. So an example would be calling on Athena's wisdom rather than believing she exists as a literal being. Get at the archetypal or archetype of that deity. So, or another option is aspects of energy or universal forces. Some view deities as a personifications of natural forces, cosmic energies, or collective human consciousness. For example, Yemaya, as the embodiment, she might be seen as the embodiment, we're going to pull it together, embodiment of the ocean's power rather than a physical goddess. If you were curious about myself, honestly, on some level, I think all three of these different perspectives I've held, and I think I still do hold. You can't paint me with a broad stroke. Like I don't know. Sometimes I think it's literal. Sometimes I think I'm connecting with the archetype, and then sometimes the universal force. Especially when I think of the ocean. That is how I literally thought about working with the ocean, and I thought of the force, the ocean's power as a goddess, as Yemaya. I thought the ocean itself. I didn't try to morph that into a person, or someone, or yeah, a person, a being that I recognize as human or something like that. I didn't try to do that. I was content with the ocean itself being knowing and knowledgeable and having a power of its own, but the power of this goddess. The ocean is the goddess. Yemi, goddess of oceans in one of my heads. There you go. Um, I believe she's working with my sister. And for me, Oshun, by the way, her son Shango is my other head. That's an interesting perspective. If you if you're watching this and you're curious about what I'm going to talk about, who I'm going to present, and so forth, ask yourself these questions. And are you like someone like me? Do you kind of hold all three perspectives, and maybe a combination of it, or in some way, or um, ask yourself those questions. It matters, especially if you are working with a deity. How do you work? Maybe you hadn't thought about it. Is it more of an archetype, or is it literal? And I'm not saying there's no issue either way. There's no problem here with me. I don't think it is a problem. Okay. Gods and goddesses in mythology versus modern practice. So, ancient myth, y'all know, ancient myths shape cultural beliefs and provided moral or natural explanations. So, in modern witchcraft, many deities are worked with differently, less as dogmatic figures and more as a personal guide, or your or energies, right? An example of this would be, so in ancient Greece, Zeus was a supreme ruler. But today, some might invoke his energy for his strength and leadership, right? Hey, Dylan. So we're looking at it like that. So, I think sometimes, just a quick tangent, when you are talking to people who they only know, you know, Christian God, or Judeo type stuff. Like, they only know that either Allah, yeah, Islam, and or the Jewish. They only know the God, that type of God. It is literally, and they've only been told that. Even though all this stuff has existed and we hear it, they don't see it any other way. When people like that decide, for whatever reason, they're a little bit more open minded, and they are open to other things, and I personally come across people like this. I think what kind of takes them out is that we are not, us witches practitioners. Most of us don't take a dogmatic approach to deities. I'm not even gonna get into the ancestors, how they think we worship, but most of us don't do a worship thing. We might use that term, but for us is a lot different than how they practice. For us, I just mentioned the example of, I have something I want to do. I want to tap into a specific type of power. I'm gonna invoke, a Zeus, somebody like that. Like I said, and I want that leadership and strength, because I need to do this thing, and I need the strength and leadership. So we think like that, not, and we may have an altar, and we may do some work, and we might have like days that we, special days that we celebrate them, but we work with other people too, and or maybe we don't, but it's not as dogmatic. Like, there's not a church or a temple or some sort of religious thing that we have to go to prove, and it's not all of that. The Empress Goth says, I am lonely. So many times I talk with them. I offer deities coffee and just talk to them. Strange like that. No, that's listen. Full disclosure, as of late, one of the things that I've been doing, to a couple things, that one of the many things I've been trying to do to keep myself not feeling like I'm coming apart, um, because of the chaos of what I hear every day, is to go to these altars over here, and I light these candles that I have, and I just speak very freely. and it helps. It helps. I'm not coming petitioning for her. I'm just like, y'all see this. Like, y'all see what y'all want me to do. Do I need to just sit like, or sometimes it's more of a thing where I'm like, can y'all just see that this is too much? I just say this is just too much. I can't keep doing this. There's tears I've gone cried. I can't keep hearing more and more of this. This is hurting me. People I know are hurting. This is hurting me. Yeah, we don't have a sacred text. That part too. Yeah. Sometimes you just, yeah, take your burdens to your altars. A lot of people, we petition for all. Sometimes you just need to take the burdens there and say, look, I know y'all see this BS. Can we talk for a minute? Can y'all come talk to me? I speak very freely. It's one of the conditions to work with this witch. You got to hear my frank talk. I'm going to speak very blunt and frank. Okay, so deities as gods, excuse me, guides, protectors, and power sources. So many practitioners experience deities as spiritual allies, kind of what I'm talking about, who offer wisdom, protection, and empowerment. So ways deities may communicate might be through dreams. I have that. Omens, intuitive nudges. Me. Synchronicities, definitely me. Working with the deity through offerings, prayers, or dedicated rituals. So let's talk about polytheistic versus monotheistic influences on modern witchcraft. So polytheism. Um, Many witches work with multiple gods and goddesses, right? I'm me. From different pantheons, also me. So Norse, Greek, Kemetic, whatever, right? Monotheistic influence. So some witches integrate a single godlike energy. For example, the universe. I was one of those witches. That's why I wanted to include this. Or the divine feminine masculine. And let's talk about syncretism. So blending deities like Catholic saints and Orishas and Hoodoo and Santeria. For the longest time, like it was difficult for me to even kind of wrap my mind around the deity. Honestly, it didn't feel real to me. I'm gonna be very honest with you. For most of my practice, once I was done, I mean, I thought I was an atheist before I got completely into witchcraft. And when I approached witchcraft, I still approached as an atheist. I'm okay. I was okay with the idea of energies and things like that maybe I didn't understand, didn't have a name for it. But the idea of a deity, nope, didn't believe it. Didn't and wasn't interested in trying to prove or not or hear anything. I was pretty solid in how I felt about that. Through many years, and I'm talking over a decade of practice, um, of trying after, I would have these moments where I wanted to have a connection, especially in those Wiccan days. I talked about that, like the Lord and the Lady. That didn't resonate with me, so I just said the universe because that made more sense to me. Um, in those days, I didn't hear a lot about, in the way we do now, the divine feminine, masculine. And not, I mean, it was there, but not really. So I didn't really focus on that. But I was learning along the way, and as I continued to practice, and I was kind of impressed that magic really worked. It opened my mind up a little bit more, because if this could be true, maybe some of this other stuff could also be true. And in the meantime, I was comfortable with the universe and just speak. And I sometimes I still do that, because I don't know. I still do. I just think the universe as kind of like the god-like energy. Um, but over time, I, I believe I just was opening up, and I would have these experiences, and I didn't go gung ho. I didn't, oh, let me set up an altar. Let me do this. I just allowed that to be an experience. And over time, here we are now. I work with multiple deities. uh, okay, so the Empress Goth says, yes, dreams or light or a flash of image in the mind. Same. Dylan says, "Hey, Hecate, hey girl, how you doing?" Yes. You see that shit show that's going on outside? Exactly. Pretty much same for me. The first 5 years of my craft, I didn't have a deity. I've been pagan for 8 years now. Congratulations. And I mostly don't ask for my deities to help me in my spell work. I mean, I do. Most times I'm calling on my ancestors. Um, I feel like the deities are already working. I don't know. We'll get into that. So let's get into this. So we're going to talk about different cultures and the deities associated with them. Remember, I'm giving a broad view. So we're going to talk about the myths, powers, modern day associations, and ways witches honor them today. Notice I'm taking this from a perspective as a witch. I'm not just giving you some encyclopedia style break breakdown of this. We're talking about from being people who do witchcraft, right? I only ask for help with protection sometimes if for bigger things that are out of my control or power. Yeah, I understand that too. I get it. I mean, and to me, that's the way the dynamics work for you, and you consider that probably to be respectful. Like I'm not going to come to them with the most pettiest of life ills and work with them. I'm going to go for them for the bigger things, and that's perfectly fine. Also, it's perfectly fine if you include Hecate in every spell that you cast because you believe that's giving respect as well. It's up to you, right? So, Greek and Roman deities are some of the most well documented and frequently worked with in modern witchcraft. They represent powerful archetypes from love to war to the underworld. So, we have Hecate. Now, we're putting her in a Greek slash Roman pantheon or Greek Roman pantheon because that's, in most cases, that's where she's classified. I've heard, oh, I wouldn't even consider her a Greek goddess. She's, a Titan or she's primordial or something like that. High level overview. Stay with me. Sunflower Thistle says, I got deities for everything. I know that's right. Okay. So, Hecate, goddess of witchcraft, magic, and the crossroads, associated with the new moon, keys, dogs, and torches. Yes. Many witches work with Hecate for protection and divination and shadow work. Me. Offerings, garlic, honey, eggs, keys are just a few. Now, I have a personal relationship with Hecate. Every deity I'm going to mention, I don't necessarily, but I wanted to give a well-rounded conversation about this. But Hecate is the one that I work with. I find her like the darker themes. I connect with that specifically. I like, yeah. I was gonna say perverseness, but that's not the right word. The dark, the parts where other people, it could be soul crushing or it could be intimidating, or themes and situations might be hurtful. One of the ways that she has worked with me is turning things that someone else may have done to me to hurt me, or me just being with them and witnessing them doing things causes hurt to me. Um, she has helped me to laugh at it, um, which appeals to my Gen X soul. The sarcasm is there. This, like, I live for that and dark humor. So she has come to me in dreams at things like basically reenacting events that were hurtful to me. But she was right there and she had this smirk on her face, like, can you believe this? And I would laugh. This has happened on more than one dream, and more than one. It's not like a recurring dream with the same situation. It's different situations. But what she has shown me, and I'll just be honest and vulnerable in this moment, was that like these people aren't worth. You're better than them. They're not worth you having this amount of emotion toward it. they're gonna bury themselves in this behavior. They're not winning. But look at you. They're trying to corrupt you. They're trying to hurt you intentionally. Laugh. It's a joke. You can't, come on, you're bigger than that. You're working with me. And imagine you wake up from like something you're trying to heal from, and you're legit like, when I mean heal, I mean I'm talking to people. I'm in support groups because they're not like official, but they were for me, a support group online, to get help about all this stuff. And she came and kind of just like, ooh, let's. And I really like, oh, I had an entirely different perspective because of that interaction, or those interactions, because it was more than one. Oh, I'm missing some comments here. For me, it's Poseidon, Gaia, Apollo, Lucifer, and then I'm watching Lucifer again on Netflix. I'm sorry. And a new goddess. Ah, okay, good. I can say it's very empowering for me. Hey, Gemstones. Newer witches. Atheta says, great topic. I know some newer witches, quotes, that I'm sharing this with. Gotta spread the knowledge. Yes. Dylan again says, Poseidon is the only deity out of the ones I listed that has been in my dreams or has been mentioned in my dreams. Okay. It is, let me tell you something. For somebody like me, it was very hard to ignore those dreams. They were like, it brought some stuff that had already happened and brought it up. And then she did it again and again. And I'm like, oh, shoot, this is happening. Like, I'm really experiencing this. So I'm good. I've been great working with her since then. Aphrodite, she's newer to me. Aphrodite, Venus in Roman mythology. So she's the goddess of love, beauty, and desire. Aphrodite symbolizes self love, attraction, and sensuality. In modern practice, glamour magic, love spells, and confidence rituals. Offerings would be roses, honey, seashells, and perfume. Just a few. My experience with Aphrodite so far has been nothing but positive. I'm already on my I don't know, I guess and I usually, I'm going to say it, but please know I think it's deeper than what the words I'm about to say. Getting more in touch with the feminine side of myself. I don't buy into all this order, role, feminine, all that sort of stuff, but to a certain extent. But I can't right now summon the right other words I want to express. So we're just gonna say that. But know that it's deeper than that. Um, but also the self-care goes crazy with me right now. Um, and she's also, I feel Aphrodite has been slowly, and it's not like in the way that Hecate came to me. It's very like just sprinkles of knowledge. It's not direct. I like that. And it's more like, oh, if you want to get all in on this, come, just keep doing it, keep going, and I'll keep working with you. I'll bless the things that you're wanting to do. And that's the type of energy that I feel like I've been receiving, which makes me want to do more and work with her more. It's very inviting energy. You see what I mean about how my perspective, literal, and I go, like, it's not literal, but archetypal. See what I mean? I go back and forth with these. But with Aphrodite, I feel like it's more like the archetype of her is something I'm definitely drawn to, and I'm enjoying getting to know her. Uh, yeah, that's the best way to explain it. So, Mercury in Roman mythology, or Hermes, messenger of the gods, god of, or Hermes, I guess. I'm thinking how to say the bag, yeah. Messenger of the gods, god of communication, travel, and luck. So, it's great. Working with this particular deity is great for business success, travel protection, and spirit communication. The offerings would be coins, incense, and letters written to him. Aphrodite has very open energy to me. Yes, I love that too, right? Sunflower and thistle. I'm gonna say that name every time because I love it. Next is Hades and Persephone. Now, I started working with Persephone probably about a year ago. I've been enjoying the experience. I'm going to get into that. Let me tell you first. So, the god of the underworld and the goddess of spring and transformation. That was my draw to her. Often work with for shadow work, underworld journeys, and personal transformation. Offerings would be pomegranates. I know, black candles and flowers. And I put those together because I think it's kind of the story, they go together. Whether you think they don't go together or not, they go together. Kind of like separating Persephone from her mother. There's another, like, it's a whole situation, and I think you just need to be open to all of it because it all comes together. They all come. To me, they're package deal. Once you start working with Persephone, you're gonna get her man and her mom too. It's gonna work. That, at least that's been my experience. Um, we've already kind of talked about some of these, but so you said Hecate, you're looking to work with Hecate. It's she for most people who start working with her, so if you start, like, I did a ritual first. I'd never done anything with her, and I did it with my coven. We had did a ritual together, and then that same night, I think it was like Hecate's night, right? I think so. And then we had our yeah, so we did the ritual, we did everything. It's the end of the night, it's time for me to go to sleep. That's where she comes to me in a dream. And I was like, let me tell you, I I have done work. I don't always have immediate reactions like that. She came to me in my dream. But the key with Hecate, I found out, not the key, well, that's a pun. But the key for a lot of people who work with her, she comes to you when life is life, when it's bad, when things are not good, and or it's some sort of big, you're going through a serious transformation, like divorce, separation, grief, death, stuff like that, like those big things. She comes to you then. You're gonna get her man and her mom. Exactly. Yes, Dylan. Okay. So we're gonna switch over now, and this gets a little bit more extensive, to Ifa and Yoruba pantheon. So these deities, called Orishas, are central in the Yoruba religion and other African diaspora traditions like Santeria, Candomblé, and Voodoo. So, and that's Vodou, Voodoo. Yemaya. I talked about my experience with Yemaya. And some people say Yamoja or Yamaya. Um, I am a Black American woman, raised in the New Jersey uh, area. Yemaya is what I'm going to say. None of us are wrong, and she hears me. Her altar is behind me. She speaks to me. I've been working with her for a very long time. We're good. So, mother of the ocean. she know how I call her. She know. Yes, as well as Ifa. Yes, mother of the ocean, nurturing but powerful, associated with water, motherhood, protection, and healing. Often called upon for emotional healing, fertility, and deep wisdom. Offerings would include watermelon, seashells, coconut, blue and white candles. Her altar is on a tray for me, blue all day, blue and white, a little touch of yellow. um, my experience with Yemaya has been of power. That's the best way, of just her power, because I associated her with the ocean, and I saw the ocean as something low key. I'm kind of afraid of the ocean. I took a cruise once, and in that moment, I became very aware. I never want to do this again. I don't like being in the middle of the ocean, going out and looking out and seeing nothing, and it's just water. Almost gave me a panic attack. I did not enjoy that experience. I made the best out of it by just like not thinking about it and just focusing on this massive ship that makes me think I'm just in a regular building, and I focus on that. But please understand, I have a very respectful fear of the ocean, as I think others should as well, and its power. I respect it, which I respect the goddess that I associate as the ocean, Yemaya. Um, but power is the first thing that I come across, and she power to protect, power to heal, power in motherhood, whether it's the transition of, creating a life and carrying that life and nurturing that life once it's born. Yeah, there's power, like deep, serious power. Yeah. Oshun, goddess of love, beauty, fertility, and the sweet waters. A deity of sensuality, attraction, and abundance, often honored in self love rituals and money drawing spells. Offerings would be honey, taste it first, oranges, cinnamon, sunflowers. You're right, the power to destroy is definitely up there. Definitely don't play. Well, Oshun, another Orisha, sometimes we just refer to them as goddesses that um, I work with. I think one of the highlights when I paid someone to do a reading for me, and they were an Ifa initiate. And yeah, they had just been initiated. They were going through, like, I think it was like a year they were wearing all white. And I went to them. Actually, I'm going to be, spoiler, I'm going to be going to their store soon and doing a bit of a witchy haul. But anyway, when I went to to get this reading done, and they used the shells and did the reading for me, and everything they said in that reading I believed was spot on. There was a couple things I was like, I think it's an interpretation thing, but neither, it was like one thing, everything else was spot on. But the first thing they said was, mind you, I did not explain, and I know that they didn't look it up because I didn't really talk at that point about Oshu. Uh, but they said, I know you're not initiated, but she is your head. Like, I could see that. She walks with you. Her exact words. It's coming. So, yeah. I knew that because I had already been working with her for years. Listen, we can come to, I'm going to talk about this being initiate or not and what that, but anyway, the point is, um, I have ties, and therefore I believe that she can, and she acknowledged, the person who it was initiated themselves acknowledged it. Not that I needed proof, but that was a highlight for me. Um, Elegua or Ishu, trickster and guardian of the crossroads, the opener of doors and messenger of the gods, works well in road opening spells for spiritual guidance. Offerings would be candy, cigars, rum, coconut. Now, I haven't, not lately. In a very, very, very long time ago, I did. Because I was about to say, no, yes, I did. Yes, I did. When I lived in Florida, I remember I did. I did work with the Legua, but I didn't, I never pursued it further. I haven't had the draw. Um, yeah, that's it. That's why. There's nothing strange or more to it. Next would be Shango, Orisha of fire, thunder, and leadership. So, this is a powerful warrior and king associated with strength, justice, and masculinity, called upon for courage, power, and success in leadership roles. Represents passion, righteous anger, and taking decisive action. Offerings would be red apples, bananas, spicy foods, rum, red and white candles. And then we have Ogun, Orisha of iron, war, and technology. The blacksmith, warrior, and protector of hard workers and those in need of strength, called upon for protection, endurance, and success in difficult tasks associated with roads, metal, tools, and technological advancements. Offerings are palm wine, iron tools, red meat, rum, cigars. And then we have Abatella, the wise and compassionate Orisha of peace, seen as the father of all Orishas, representing purity, wisdom, and patience, helps with clarity, spiritual guidance, and maintaining balance in life. I don't know what is happening. I haven't talked today to anybody. I think this is the first time I started talking. And maybe that's why. I'm like, it's new to me, this talking thing. Anyway, offerings would be white candles, coconut, shea butter, rice, white cloth. The Empress God says, my mom is a priestess of Ifa, so she taught me who the Orisha and who were my heads. Oh, good for you. It's great when you have access and you're not like stumbling through the internet trying to find someone reputable and legitimate when you actually have someone. That's actually a blessing. Oya, Oya, fierce Orisha of wind, storms, and transformation, guardian of the cemetery gates, associated with change, ancestors, and rebirth, called upon for personal growth, cutting ties, and embracing transformation, represents strength in times of upheaval and transitions. Offerings would be eggplants, red wine, copper coins, dark colored candles. So I've shared, for me, out of all of these who I consistently work with, but by the way, consistent doesn't mean every day, all the time, but there's a connection there is Oshun and Yemaya. And I actually have altars for both. I've had my Oshun altar for years. I moved before I even moved here. That's how much I had uh, a calling. I felt like she was calling to me, and I was very connected to her. And I don't like, I know some years ago when Beyonce came out with Lemonade, tangent alert, when she came out with Lemonade, I noticed a lot of, not a lot, but a good amount of people would get online and they would make a comment about, oh, everybody wants to be, daughter of Oshun now because Beyonce made it popular, but you guys don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, you know what? I'm one of those people, whatever it takes to get you from that oppressive patriarchal religion. If it gets you from that, I don't care. Oshun don't mind. And she will let them know if she does. Why are you upset? You're like, what? Why does this upset other people, other practitioners, yeah, practitioners? I'll just say that. Why does that bother them? Um, that this particular Orisha became more popular. Well, I mean, I don't. Beyonce has never said it, but she's displayed that she seems to be connected to Oshun, or at least for that album, she was. So, one of the most popular people, kind of presenting themes and elements and symbols of Oshun, and this is a very popular person. Of course, it's going to bring more popularity to Oshun. I don't I don't understand why that would be a negative thing. I think that's a positive thing. Moving on. Um, so we're going to go into the Celtic pantheon. So the Celtic deities are closely tied to the land, cycles of nature, and the mystical otherworld. So the Morrigan, we're going to start there. The goddess of war, fate, and transformation often appears as a crow, and is associated with prophecy and battle. Called upon for protection, courage, and shadow work. Offerings would be dark red wine, black feathers, and iron. Bridget, goddess of poetry, healing, and smithcraft, associated with Imbolc, fire, and sacred wells. Popular for creativity, healing magic, and home protection. Offerings milk, bread, candles, poetry. And the next one is forgive me on how I'm about to say this. You know how? Okay, let me just preface this by saying, if you ask me how to spell something, I can spell very well. I can read, write I write, so good. But saying it out loud. So is it Cernunas? I'm gonna type it out so y'all know what I'm talking about. I should have did a Google translation ahead of time. I didn't. Sorry. Cernunnos, the horned god, ruler of the wild, associated with nature, fertility, and cycles of life and death, invoked for grounding, connection to animals, and balance. Offerings are acorns, antlers, mead, and forest herbs. Again, I don't, yeah, I've never worked with that. It's a hard cake. So Cernunnos, thank you. But I'm open. I'm open. Um, so that was light, Celtic pantheon. I didn't go too far. There's obviously more. Remember, broad. We're going to get more. We're going into the Egyptian pantheon next. So the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt are known for their power over life, death, magic, and wisdom. Isis, goddess of magic, healing, and motherhood, one of the most widely worshipped deities in ancient and modern times, called upon for protection, wisdom, and divine feminine energy. You're typing with a cat on your lap. Don't worry about it. Offerings would be lotus flowers, milk, frankincense, and myrrh. Anubis, or is Anubis, right? Or Anubis. Am I saying that right? I don't know. Guardian of the dead and guide through the afterlife, associated with shadow work, mediumship, and protection. Offerings, bread, black stones, and oils. Sekhmet, lion-headed goddess of war and healing, fierce protector but also a healer, good for strength and courage. Offerings would be red wine, bloodstone, and spicy foods. Let's go into the Norse pantheon next. So we have the Norse gods are deeply tied to honor, wisdom, war, and magic. Odin, the All-Father, god of wisdom, war, and magic. Patron of knowledge seekers, poets, and warriors. Offerings are mead, runes, ravens, and books. Freya, goddess of love, beauty, and I got this information out of a book. I don't know how to pronounce it. I told you I can read and write. I struggle with enunciating and pronouncing words sometimes because they're new to me to come out of my mouth. They stay in my head. But that's Norse magic, by the way, associated with both war and sensuality. Invoked for love spells, glamour magic, and inner strength. Offerings for Freya are amber, honey, gold, and roses. Loki. Thank you, gemstones. Loki, the trickster god of chaos and transformation, bringer of change, but also a teacher. Offerings are cinnamon, fire, mischief inspired actions. um, there's something I had talked about with my coven for a while about Loki is that I wonder if what people in modern times, what people think is the Christian God is really Loki. Just playing in y'all face. I can't prove it, but I think it's something there. Hindu pantheon. Hindu deities are often seen as aspects of the divine and hold deep spiritual significance. So, Kali, goddess of time, destruction, and transformation, invoked for breaking cycles, shadow work, and courage. Offerings would be red flowers, meat, and fire. The pop culture princess. Hello, unpopular opinion. I consider Egyptian deities as African deities. Argue amongst yourselves. Nothing will change my mind. Okay, so first of all, contrary to what anybody tries to tell us, Egypt is in Africa, so you would be correct. The Empress God says Bast and Odin, Freya, and other Norse I tend to talk to a lot. Okay. And Gemstones agrees about that. Yeah. um, Lakshmi, goddess of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. I have worked with Lakshmi. Called upon for financial blessings and good fortune. Offerings are rice, coins, lotus flowers, sweets. Ganesha, remover of obstacles and patron of new beginnings. Popular for road opening work and business success. Offerings would be sweets, bananas, coins, turmeric. Kali, love her, and Ganesh. Yeah, Bass Kali as well. Okay. Hi, Mystic. Quinasti. I'm probably butchering that, sorry. Okay. So as you can see, deities come from all traditions, and each one carries a unique energy. Um, I want to talk about how to work with deities in your personal practice. So we got a nice big overview of all these different pantheons. Did I go more into the Yoruba Ifa? Yes, I did, but it's my video, so who's gonna stop me? But anyway, also I'm trying to like speak from what I know and peripherally what I know. Um, it's a broad overview. We could spend a lot of time going through a lot more throughout the pantheon, right? Okay, so how to work with deities in your practice. This is important. So you have one of the things I realized when I first started is I would read, like I kind of had like an encyclopedia approach, like just gather the information. But there was no connection really happening. So working with deities can be deeply personal and a transformative experience. And it was for me. Whether you see them as literal beings, archetypes, or aspects of the universe, or some variation, there are many ways to connect with divine energy. So I'm going to break down different approaches, signs a deity might be reaching out, and how to build a relationship, and important considerations for respectful practice. So, we're going to talk about signs that a deity is reaching out to you. Not every witch, I was one, seeks out a deity. Sometimes that deity finds you. So, here are some common ways a god or goddess might try to get your attention. All right. Did you already talk about Bast? I didn't talk about Bast. I didn't. Sorry, I didn't go that deep. Maybe I need to do a part two on the lesser known, or not, I wouldn't say lesser known, but ones I just didn't talk about. I can. That's okay. So let's talk about some of the signs. Recurring symbols and synchronicity. So, seeing their symbols frequently in dreams, media, or everyday life. For example, crows for the Morrigan, seashells for Yemaya, and honey for Oshun. Sudden fascination or pull toward their myths. Feeling inexplicably drawn to reading about a particular god or goddess. That's a common one. Like, you can't help yourself. You can't wait. Like, you want this, and you are just like absorbing this information. You're connecting with it. You're seeing things in the text that you read, connections and things like that. Anyway, unusual dreams or meditative visions, receiving direct messages, images, or feelings from them in dream work or deep meditation. Hearing their name constantly. So, seeing their name in a book, conversations, social media, or random places over and over again. Um, Emotional or energetic responses. So, feeling warmth, chills, or a sudden rush of emotion when learning about or invoking them. That last one is something I definitely, the chills and this feeling of warmth. I felt like I was hugged by a goddess before. This is before I actually started working with a deity per se. I basically was doing an experiment with myself, and I remember I'm sitting on my bed. I was alone in my room. Like, the family's in the house, but they're preoccupied. And I had been wanting to try again to have this experience, and I was feeling pretty low. I was feeling low, and I remembered I just wanted something. I didn't even know what it was, but I felt hugged. I felt hugged. The sense of warmth. I felt like I was engulfed in warmth, and I received that, and and I needed it. uh, yeah, I needed that at the time, so that was a pretty cool experience. Me looking endlessly for more information about the Eleusinian mysteries. Ooh, okay, yeah, let me know. Okay, now we're going to talk about ways to build a relationship. So with a deity. So once you feel a connection, right? How do you begin working with them? So, like any relationship, it's going to require patience, respect, and mutual exchange. It should anyway. Healthy relationships. Research and learn their lore. Read the myths, the historical texts, folklore about the deity. Look beyond modern Not saying that you can't look, but look beyond modern pop culture interpretation. Some gods have been softened or misinterpreted over time, and you can compare how they're honored in different traditions. So let's talk about Aphrodite, since that's the newest deity that I've been working with. I have since learned that yes, glamour, love, and the things I talked about, but also um, she could be tough. That's up there with those Oshun. Don't get into an agreement with these goddesses, and you're not going to keep up your end of the bargain. Don't lie to them. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't make petition them for something, and you're saying you're gonna do your part, and you don't do your part. Please don't do those things. Um, they have a vengeful side, and they don't like they. How would you lie? I want you to think about this. If you're thinking from the literal point of view of a goddess, how dare you? How dare you lie to me? So you asked to work with me. I'm speaking from the goddess point of view. You asked to work with me. I offer my assistance to you, or I offer my blessings and grace to you, and you lie to me? Oh no. Dylan says you get what I mean when you talked about Beyonce and the goddess. Oh, okay. And what I was talking about. Son of Pun, my big people say that. Percy Jackson. Okay. Got you. Okay. But yeah, I be careful. Don't start small. Don't go all in if you're not in a position to do that. And yeah, do compare how they're honored in different traditions. Pay attention to how people are doing. I think, for instance, because of the internet and social media, around in bulk, you get to see in other places how they're at in places where Celtic traditions are ongoing, mostly. You get to see how they're actually celebrating it, and it's interesting, and you can take some of that if it makes sense for you and it's in line, it's in aligned with your practice, and use some of the ways that they celebrate, and they've been doing it a lot longer than you have, so maybe you should approach it from that point of view. Now we're going to talk about the offerings and sacred items. So we're still in the ways to build a relationship with a deity. So through offering and sacred items, each deity has a preferred offering or offerings that align with their energy. Common offerings include food and drink. So that's going to be, as I mentioned, wine, honey, bread, milk, or specific dishes. Natural elements, flowers, stones, water, herbs, or incense. Personal devotion, poetry, music, artwork, or dance dedicated to them. Time and action, acts of kindness or charity in their name. Environmental work for like nature deities. Um, Yemaya is often honored with fresh water, blue and white candles, and watermelon, while Hecate appreciates garlic, keys, and dark red wine, for example. So I probably wouldn't give dark red wine to the goddess of the ocean, um, or keys, because I don't like what who this for. Like that's what I'm thinking. She's like, what, did you get me confused? Like, is there some sort of intention behind this, and you're gonna need to break it out? Um, yeah, be intentional now. Do you do the full moon offering at a crossroads for Hecate? I have. I do not do it every full moon, but I have. And let me tell you a trick. No, that's not the right word. A workaround. So you can't go to a crossroads. It's not safe, or it's just not going to work because of where you are. It's just not going to make any sense. One of the things that I've done is I'll get a piece of paper. Of course, I have no paper around. I'll get a piece of paper and I'll put a line and put like a cross, or if you turn a certain way, it looks like an X. And I will put offerings on that, or put that underneath where I keep my altar there, and put it on there. And I've created a crossroads. That is my workaround. The pop culture princess says it's okay to appreciate Aphrodite without being a devotee. Yes, everyone calls themselves devotees nowadays, but there's work involved being a devotee of any goddess. Yes, there is. And when we talk about modern practice, um, that's going to take on obviously a different look because the way we live is different. So to be a devotee of any goddess for that matter, um, I think you are going to have to look to the mythology. You're going to have to look to um, the past and what others have done, and obviously look at where you are in your modern time and your schedule and your life and what you can do, and you kind of have to have like some sort of you know what's the word I'm looking for, reconciliation of what that is. What does that look like for you into a practice? What does that, how can you do that? um and some things you might have to, if you don't know, you just don't have access to the information, work with that goddess and let them tell you what that means to be a devotee. Like, ask them what does that mean? It would, and if you like, if you think it's something that you can do, ask them further questions. What does that mean for you? What would you like? You know, get into that. The next thing I'm going to talk about, still ways to build a relationship, is through meditation and prayer. Sitting quietly, focus on their energy, asking for guidance. That's something I do. Using visualizations, imagine walking with them or visiting a sacred space. That is definitely something that I've done. Writing prayers or petitions. Speak to them as you would a mentor or an ancestor. Dylan says, I haven't tried this yet, but you could try origami in the shape of an animal that was historically offered to the deity and burn the origami animal, since most of us don't want to kill an actual animal. Oh, that's actually something. You know what? I mean, same thing with an image as well. Or, yeah. In modern approaches, as far as sacrifice and things like that, another thing is, if you are in a place where you have access to where you may come across, a animal that has since gone, and what the leftover remains of said animal. There are people who, they'll collect bones and things like that. That's another thing that you can do. So you didn't participate in the killing of the animal, but you are going to treat their bones as sacred. Good idea. I've made dark chocolate dogs for Hecate. There you go. Yeah. Divination and signs. So use tarot, pendulums, runes, or scrying to communicate. Tarot for me, and oracle for sure. Ask direct yes/no questions. Pull cards representing their guidance. Record any synchronicities in a journal. I'm gonna expand on this one. Don't waste their time asking the same question because you didn't write it down. Or you remember when they came to you and talked to you, but you don't remember that other little detail that was really important at the time, but you kind of lost it because you were just so happy that they finally, I mean, I know this, believe me, they communicated with you, and it's very obvious it was them. You don't have any doubt it was that particular deity that you petitioned or you reached out to, and they actually responded to you. And they gave you some messages. But you were so excited, you didn't write anything down, because how could you forget this? This is such a big deal. This is so important in your life. You would never forget this, but you did forget some of the messages. You did. So you keep going back to them. Don't do that. Write stuff down. If you don't want to write it down, record yourself saying it. Something. Record it in some capacity. I think it's disrespectful to keep going back because you didn't take the time to write it down. I think it's setting a horrible precedent to start working with a powerful deity by just ignoring what they said, or not being respectful enough to retain it and find a way to retain the information. Just saying. Creating a deity altar or shrine. This, I didn't leave with that because I don't think you have to. So a dedicated small space with images, statues, or symbols of that deity, keeping it simple or maybe elaborate, whatever feels right for you. Regularly tend to that altar with offerings, candle lighting and prayers. Candle lighting for me is a big deal. I will light my candles back here and in other places in the home. um, when I that is my connection. That is yeah, that's how I commune. I feel like lighting that candle sometimes is kind of like, okay, we're together now. Even though I felt like they're always available, but it's safe. It's a ritualistic act. It's sacred. Find something like that if you want, if you haven't already, whatever that is. Maybe it's a ringing of a bell. Maybe it's the pouring of water. You come out, you come with maybe you use the same glass. It doesn't have to be very large or a bowl, and you have a specific, vessel that you pour from. You get fresh, clean water, and you just start that pouring process, and just the sound of the water hitting the dish, the cup, and filling up. That could be the beginning. That could be how you start, especially if you're working with like a deity that's associated with water or something like that. Shells, or you can take shells if you want to keep them in like a jar and shake them, and that's your connection. So find something. It doesn't have to all be candles and stuff like that, but find your thing that is, that you can do to sort of work at their altar. It's not always about casting a spell or petitioning them. Sometimes you just want to like activate that connection, and that could be your thing. Sunflower and Thistle says a lot of times I set space that I can take down, or set space that I can take down when I'm done, then maybe a permanent space. Yeah, I'd love a tray for that. Setting up like a tray, go to the Dollar Tree, get one of those trays, make it as elaborate as you want, all on that tray. And then as long as you want, you have it there. Maybe it's out for a particular time. Maybe it's a season. Um, and then you can, just take apart the tray and put things wherever you need it to be. Okay, Dylan, you have a question. Since you work with an ocean goddess, do you think she likes to hoard things on her altar? Oh, Poseidon loves hoarding things on his altar. And other Poseidon worshippers say the same thing. Hold on, let me look at something. It's given hoarder. I had not thought of that. As I look down, it's given hoarder a little bit. Yeah, I got like cards. I just oops, sorry. I just added something. Oh my gosh, yes, maybe there might be something to that. Might be something to that. I hadn't thought about it, but yeah. Or maybe I'm the hoarder. Maybe that's why we work together. I don't know. But yes, there's something there. All right. Let me take a sip. Cultural respect versus appropriation. Let's get into it. So when working with deities, it's essential to approach them with respect, understanding, and awareness, right? Of their cultural origins. So deities are not just symbols or aesthetic figures. They're deeply tied to the traditions, beliefs, and histories of the cultures they come from. The pop culture princess says, I consider applying makeup as a sacred ritual. With beauty goddesses, I like that. Gemstone says, I felt like making a water altar in my bathroom. There you go. That was your sign. All right, so understanding the cultural context. So some deities belong to closed or initiatory practices, meaning they require training, initiation, or permission to work with them properly. Examples of closed traditions: Orishas, Yoruba, Santeria, Candomblé, Voodoo. Working with the Orishas often requires initiation through a priest or elder. I'm going to speak more about that, but I'm going to continue with the list of examples. Indigenous and First Nations deities. Many of these deities are only meant to be honored within their native communities. Haitian Voodoo Lua. Unlike open pantheons, voodoo spirits are served through specific ritual traditions, and require initiation. I want to come back about the Orishas. I want to come back. So, who is this for? Who am I talking to? If you are of African descent, majority African descent, I'm not talking to you. If you are of African descent through ancestral ties and you have been displaced somewhere on this globe outside of Africa, and that's the people on the islands, that's the people here in this country, right? Or anywhere else you ended up being, but you were displaced through slavery and the kidnapping of our ancestors and worked in to force labor, and you are from that line. I am not talking to you because how in the world would you? We have been, our minds have been colonized. Okay, our minds, it's generational. There is so much work to still be done with a lot of us, and it's an inside job. So there's the collective and then there's the inside job. I hope that more people who look like me find me and are open to receive the things that I'm talking about, because it directly challenges everything that they know to be true. I was like that too. So what we don't know, a lot of us don't know to be true, is the concepts of Ifa, Yoruba, spirituality, and Orishas, because we were told everything else is Satan, demons, devils, demonic. Even if you don't come from a very religious family, it scares a lot of black folk, especially the older generation, talking about this sort of stuff. So, how do you have to be required to be initiated when you have been having barriers and obstacles and like definitive like obstacles? Like there have been people who don't want you to know this, and they've brainwashed the generations before through violence. So how do you require somebody like me to be initiated when I already have Oshun talking to me? She's already come to me. When I have these Orishas saying, "No, daughter, no, I got you. You're loved. You, no. I've been an orphan daughter, and they found me, and they came to me, and then someone to tell me, well, you're not initiated, so don't count, or it's not real, or you think you're dealing with Oshun, but you're really not." No, I don't believe you. You need more people. No, I don't believe you. I know what's real. In the same way you know what's real, I know what's real. I know what's going on. I know how I've been practicing witchcraft for some time. So I've been in the pagan sphere for quite some time. So I'm very open and understanding. And I also trust my intuition. And I also do ancestor veneration. And they are on board with it. So I know I'm on the right track. So no, I don't think that we have to be initiated. And you might hear other people say different things, and they might have a different approach to this, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if you are of majority African descent, I don't mean no quarter black. Don't come over here, you 2% Nigerian talk. That's not what I'm talking about. You know that's not who I mean and what I'm talking about. If you are majority of African descent, I don't think that you need, especially if you were displaced, your ancestors have been displaced from our land and our, where we're from. Uh, I think it's a slap in the face to us to enforce this idea that we have to be initiated when we don't even, most of us don't even know how to get initiated or where to even start. And there's so many scammers out here in modern times. If you try to, let's say, because I got people DMing me now, I could help you. No, you can't help me, sir or ma'am. No, you can't. I get that all the time over on Instagram. Yes, 2% Nigerian over here talking about, well, I mean, I know I don't mean you. You know I don't mean you. The pop culture princess says exactly. Can't nobody tell me I have to pay my way to anything when it's my birthright. Exactly. I feel very strongly about that. Um, I will not this idea of us consistently living in a space of suffering, and it would be suffering to not have this connection with these orishas, and it is your birthright, and it is something you should be able to access, and the only reason you can't is because lack of knowledge, not because you don't want to know, because you can't even, you don't know what's real and what's not, just trying to get information and somebody to tell you the truth, and not try to scam you out of your money. So when these orishas come to you, believe that they're really coming to you, and don't hold it that you have to be initiated as someone of mostly African descent. Empress Goth says Odin had to speak to me in a dream because at the time I was saddened by the way runes were being used by prejudiced people. I know what you mean. And I love working with them. In a dream he spoke. He told me three, not theirs. Me, not theirs. Me, three. I'm not sure what you're saying, but I think I understand what you're saying on that last part. But I know what you mean. The Nordic mythology, as it is expressed in working with the Nordic deities, it's a lot of, you know, the knots, ease, um, the knots. They like that, and yeah, and they're trying to co-opt it. Well, they didn't try; they a lot of them have. So, how to approach respectfully? If you're drawn to a deity from a closed tradition, let's just research and seek guidance from an initiated practitioner. Maybe you just need to understand, and you can take something from it, but ain't nobody don't. Maybe that's all you need to do is just learn from peripherally. Don't be afraid to learn peripherally. Recognize that simply reading about a tradition does not grant automatic access. But y'all knew that, right? We got a lot of them on the internet. They're definitely on TikTok, but they're on YouTube as well. They've read a lot. You have some extremely well read folk out here. They read a lot. You can tell they've read a lot. It's the way that they talk. They are regurgitating in the same way the Christians do the Bible verses. Man, they could come with quotes and references. They tell you a book recommendation on the fly. They give you 10 books right on the fly. They're very well read. They're very well read witches. Practiced. That's another conversation. But they and those will be the ones who will aesthetic you to death. Everything is aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if y'all see. I see this. I don't know who this is, so it's nothing personal. I always see it. It's like between TikTok, sometimes on Instagram, and they're always doing something where they're like, "Oh, your lover left you. Get them back." I don't know, and you'll just see like it's a close shot of them like sprinkling a circle around the candles and a candle, and they're they're doing something with basically dressing a candle, and they're making a cute aesthetically nice little thing with it, and then they light it and they speed it up and you see the candle go down real fast or something like that. That's and all you hear is factoids the whole time. They're just reading facts during this quick little video. Oh, work with this person to do this. This deity does this, and they're associated with da 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 da. And you're like, oh, they seem really knowledgeable. They are. They've read a lot of books, and they are going to show you the aesthetically pleasing way of witchcraft. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I like reading about goddesses and traditions, but it's not the same as practicing. It's not. And you can tell they're going to give you a bunch of facts. Oh my God. I'm like, wow, thanks for reiterating that. I mean, and listen, in the same way, occasionally having pizza, in the same way, occasionally having a cocktail, glass of wine, you be all right. I approach it like that as far as like within witchcraft. There's nothing wrong occasionally consuming that. If you make that like your person to follow and to build your practice around, that's you'll be just as aesthetic and well read. Dylan says, people who gatekeep deities annoy me. Who are you to put a deity in a human box? If they choose to work with someone, or what have you, or what have you then they wanted to do it? Why can they? Because they're a deity. Okay, correct. Jim sounds armchair pagan. Yeah, armchair pagan. Yeah, I say that, but at the same time, we're in the process of talking about understanding the cultural context. The problem would become, for instance, Dylan, if you were to decide, I am going to become a devotee, or I am following, you know what? I'm practicing voodoo now. VODOU, voodoo. I'm practicing voodoo. I've initiated myself. And I am going to teach you and the others the ways. You will have a bunch of people telling you, no, you cannot. No, you cannot. And I don't think those people would be wrong. So it depends on how we focus on that. You know, you can believe what you want to believe. You can. But you might run into problems trying to tell that to somebody else, right? Does that work in reverse? Me talking about Norse gods and goddesses. I wouldn't approach it from a point of view where I was the subject matter expert, and I would just be talking from my experience anecdotal, right? My practice centers around fairy and certain goddesses. Gemstone says, got you. Okay. So, now that we talked about that, we're going to avoid mixing incompatible traditions. Ooh. You may or may not agree. Eclectic witchcraft. I used to call myself an eclectic witch. Eclectic witchcraft blends different paths, but some deities don't work well together and should be honored with their own cultural framework. Examples of problematic mixing: invoking Orishas and Greek deities in the same ritual. They come from vastly different cosmologies and spiritual systems. Okay. Placing Odin, Norse, right, and Jesus, Christianity, on the same altar. Their energies and traditions don't align in most practices. Calling upon Kali, Hindu, and Aphrodite, Greek, for love magic. Kali is a destroyer and liberator, and not a goddess of romance. So, what are we doing? So, learn about a deity's traditional practices before incorporating them into your work. And you can, this might seem like a no-brainer. I've made this mistake of, I didn't realize it, but in a ritual, I would have started the ritual with Hecate. I've done this for my coven. And when I was making my notes about this, I thought about this. I started with Hecate, but I was working with a completely different deity at some point in the ritual. And this isn't a recent thing, but I know if my coven, we all know I know I did this. We were working with Hecate, and then I think we did like a Yemaya tradition ritual or something. Now, why did I put them together? Why did I just focus on, you see what I'm saying? Like, you can make these mistakes is my point. All of us are capable. It can happen. So like, this is not like me talking bad about anybody or trying to make anyone feel bad or something like that, or say you're doing something wrong. I've done it, and I've done it repeatedly, by the way. So they'll let you know. Why do you think why do I think it matters? I think it can matter if, again, if we're dealing, especially, okay, I wouldn't put Hecate and Jesus Christ on the same altar space and work with them. because they don't align to the same things at all, and there's conflict. If I'm saying Hecate is the goddess of witches, and Jesus Christ is associated with Christianity, and their Bible specifically mentions something about, you know, do not spare a witch to live, we in conflict. That's why I don't. I spoiler Christian witches. I feel like that's a conflict. You do whatever you want. I'm not mad at nobody. I'm not saying I don't like you or something's wrong with you. I'm just saying I feel like that's a you're in a major conflict, and I don't think they go together. For Dylan says, for me, I think it's up to the deities to tell the practitioner if they don't want to share the same altar and to not include X deity in the same spell ritual. I agree. I think some of this you have to also use your intuition as well, and also use the knowledge that you've gained. Why would I want to work a love spell and I'm bringing in, like, all right, in my personal practice, I wouldn't ask Hecate to assist me in a love spell, right? But I definitely wouldn't bring in Hecate and Aphrodite to assist me in a ritual for or a spell for a love spell. Now, ha ha ha. However, if I was working on a self love ritual, I might separately but respectfully, but I wouldn't do it at the same time in a ritual. I would first work with Hecate, because there's a reason I would want to work with her for self love, and then I would also work with Aphrodite. Also, I would have separate spaces set up. I would not try to do all this in one thing and just have it all next to each other. I don't think they go together. I mean, but this is me, right? The pop princess culture says I felt that way about working with those Shun and Aphrodite until they showed up to me together, letting me know they're cool. Exactly. If you have a situation where that happens, that's fine. I like to work on the side of my intuition and what my intuition is telling me. I'm okay with, when I get new information, okay, I'll approach this differently. But I think if there um, traditions, the basis for me though, if the traditions are not in alignment, I don't think I should be putting those two together. That's why it matters, to answer your question, Jim Stones. That's the main point for me. Research before working with the deity. So not all deities are benevolent or easygoing. Some require strict rituals, specific offerings, or personal sacrifices. Examples. Okay, let's talk about this. So Hecate, some say while powerful guide, she is a liminal goddess of the dead and should not be invoked lightly. I agree with that 100%. I keep up my end of the bargain that I personally struck with Hecate, my personal petition to her, and I keep it up because I did warn, do not engage if you don't want to keep up your side. And if something changes and you don't want to, you need to also communicate that with that deity as well. Lilith. Now, this is just high level because I haven't worked with Lilith yet. Lilith is associated with Jewish and folkloric traditions. So many see her as a feminist icon, but her origins are deeply complex and she does not tolerate disrespect. Remember, we were talking about that. I'm the deities I work with, I feel very comfortable being just myself and very direct in my communication. You need to be mindful if that maybe that's if I hit this ring, let me take this ring off because I'm just going to destroy it. Anyway, maybe you don't need to be working with that particular, if that's your style and you don't want to change it, it might be an issue for another type of deity. The Morrigan, which is Celtic, a war goddess who demands strength and commitment, she does not respond well to casual or surface level devotion. I mean, that's something. And listen, there's some I don't, it is surface level. What you think is surface level might not be surface level to someone else. By the way, it's all relative, right? So you might be saying, oh, well, I didn't have to do all that and I had a perfectly fine relationship. What you're describing is not having to do a lot, might be a lot to somebody else. Always study historical and cultural sources before calling on a deity, and don't rely solely on modern interpretations. Now, I did break this rule. It's not a rule, but this tip. When I first started working with Hecate, I got information from a fellow coven member, but I trusted them. So I trusted them. So I began to work with Hecate from, what they're telling me. I didn't do a lot of, I did high level background because I wrote the ritual, but I didn't go very deep initially. So my experience was definitely like a first-hand experience working with Hecate initially. And then I started developing a grimoire for her. So then I went out and I recorded the information and things that I learned and created pages for her. Let's see, what do we have here? A sunflower and thistle says, I've had an issue in my practice. Michael came to me. I feel like he doesn't blend with everyone else. I limit my workings with him, like very specific circumstances. I definitely understand that. I feel that way about Oshun. I limit my workings with her because I feel like that is a specific deity that I feel like you need to be all in. Don't play with her like that. Don't come in, I, when is needed, when I felt called or it makes sense. I don't think, I think she would consume a lot more of my time working with her more. I feel like she would want more. It would be definitely a situation where I'd have to be like, see, we're, I'd have to be giving more of my energy is my point. Dylan says, my friend works with Jesus, the Morgan, Lilith, and Lucifer. Oh, now I don't know if she has worked with them in the same spell or ritual or in the same altar. I'm not saying you can't work with them all. I'm just saying, like, for a specific intention or purpose, I would just, I would think a little bit more clear about why you're bringing these different deities together. Why? What is the purpose of bringing them all together? Why do you think, especially a deity who has no, like, I'm still trying to figure out Jesus and Lucifer? Okay. And Lilith? I mean, you know what? Why not? Who am I? What do I know? I don't know. Go off. If it's working for him, who am I? And I mean that. All right. Respect over aesthetic. Deities are not just trendy symbols, aesthetic decorations, or wish granting figures. Avoid treating them as mere tools for manifestation without honoring their deeper significance. Examples of disrespect: using Hindu gods as decoration. Yes, TJ Maxx, Ross, without understanding their religious significance. Marshalls. They all have a lot of that sort of stuff there, and I'm like, y'all stop it. Like, they'll have like even though it's not Hindu, but like Buddha statues, they take a lot of liberties. I mean, if you're into it, yes, but just using it as just a cool piece of decor, I think that's a little disrespectful too. Another is calling on Kali for edginess while ignoring her transformative destruction. That's quite bad when you think about it. It is. It really is. When I buy things and I see something that I know is more on the spiritual side, I always think about, like, well, does this align? I like this piece. Why am I drawn to it? Like, this is what I'm thinking in my head. I got something. It's like a figure of a woman and her legs are crossed and it's like a bowl, and it made me immediately think the feminine divine, goddess energy, and that's a place for her offerings. And so I purchased it, and that's the intention in my home. That's how I see it. I just wouldn't buy it and say, oh, that looks really cool. Like, don't do that. Lucifer isn't a biblical figure. It was a translation. He's older than Christianity. Well, not to get too deep into it, but technically, from what I've read, It's made up. Lucifer, the figure, and it basically it's from art. It's from Dante's Inferno, the Lucifer that we identify with today, and the concept of hell and all that sort of stuff is all a combination of that. But that's another conversation. um, yeah, Buddha poster that says "Let that shit go," and his next is tall. Oh my god, he's got a sense of humor. Okay. Another example of disrespect: wearing symbols like the Buddha or Orisha necklaces without knowing their spiritual meaning. Now, I was gifted some beads in there for protection. So I wear those, and sometimes you'll see me with like my beaded necklaces. I mean, bracelets on, because they are intentional. Some they have different reasons that I use them for, but they aren't necessarily just because you see somebody else wearing them and they're tied to something else doesn't mean that's my purpose. They might look similar, but they're not the same. Um, yeah, but I'm mindful of that. I have seen people do that. What was that thing? Oh, it was years ago. It's in my head. What is it? It's Kabbalah. Remember Madonna? What was it? A bracelet or something? They all started wearing. All the celebrities were wearing it because I know Madonna was doing it. And there were some other ones. It was a bracelet or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was really popular some years back, and which means if your favorite celebrity is wearing it, a lot of people were wearing it. And I'm like, come on now, y'all. Like that's something that's considered sacred. And of course they didn't even know what Kabbalah was. They didn't they just wanted to wear what their celebrity was wearing. But yeah, that's disrespectful to do stuff like that. Um would you say Lucifer Precepts is the go-to book I suggest to learn about Lucifer? Oh, okay. Side note, but I'm not Christian anymore, but I have an insane fascination with Dante's Inferno. Like I look okay, first of all, I did at one point too. Same. I did at one point too. I remember when we were taught, I was like, whoa, 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 let's slow this down. Explain to me slowly again about this. I remember having that like reaction learning about it. Yeah, I'm tired of seeing the pop culture princess says, yeah, I'm tired of seeing waist beads on everybody and their mama. Child, don't get me started on that one too. The red bracelet. The red bracelet. Was it something like that that they were all wearing? Yeah. And it's like it's just we gotta do better. We have got to as a collective people think think. Um I have a question. Have you ever felt drawn to a deity but weren't sure if you could work with them? And how do you approach deities in a respectful way? So either or both. Have you ever felt drawn to a deity but weren't sure if you could work with them for whatever reason? Um, I would say probably the Norse deities would be the ones where in the past I remember like I don't know if I should be doing this because I saw so many people who you know would not like me very much. um, really, into the Norse gods and goddesses and things like that. And I was like, well, maybe it's not for me. Um, Now, what changed it is pop culture. All those dang old Thor movies and everything else. I became like, yeah, getting more into like I watch all the Marvel movies for the longest time, and I know it's something coming out now. And they're starting back up again. I don't know. It don't feel the same anymore. But anyway, after the end game and all that, like I lost interest. But yeah, Loki, Thor, Odin, and all that sort of stuff. Like it really did pique my interest again when, like, way back when they first started coming out with all that, and I was like, I don't know, maybe it's not so bad. I don't know. But that was my thing where I wasn't sure way early, many years back. I didn't know if it was okay for me to work with them. Y'all let me know. Okay. Yes, that would be Lucifer. Before I learned about his history, I thought that he was a guise of the devil, so it was a little religious deconstruction. Got you. Okay. I know a lot of, I don't know a lot, but I've come across quite a few Luciferian witches over the years, actually, um, who have offered information. So it's not something I'm into, but it has been explained to me a lot. I'm going to tell you that, Dylan, a lot. um, Insky says, absolutely. I usually learn about the deity on a surface level and leave it at that. I try not to get in too deep. Okay. And the Empress Goth says, I am a stubborn old bitch witch. Norse deities I still work with. I know that's right. Um, all right. And then Buku Wakuma 90 says, I went back and forth about Persephone for a long time. Okay. Because certain people will be very judgy about black practitioners working with deities from non-black cultures. Speak on it. But the draw was so strong that I was like, y'all just gonna have to be mad. She's your fave. Okay. I totally get that. Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you, running around calling myself a cottage witch saying I worked with Hecate, I do get looks. I do get looks. So yeah. I sense the judging. I know. But, there's a lot that makes the heart wants what it wants. I don't know, but I feel like we're genuinely drawn to these things just like everybody else. That's why I don't get, I'm not hostile to, well, I'm not going to be hostile to anybody, but I'm not hostile to someone who is of European descent, majority European descent, and they're telling you they feel a strong connection to, let me think. Or Orisha or something like that, and they've been working with it, and they feel like they got the okay from the Orisha, specific Orisha themselves. I mean, who? That's what they said. I mean, what am I gonna do? I think again, the line for me is when we're talking, you tell me all this stuff that you're doing, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome, and I'm cool with hearing. I'll listen to you and um, hear you out, and I may learn something, and I'm not against that. I think the issue is that when it becomes something, you start a channel, a YouTube, or you go on one of these social media platforms, or you're writing a book as a subject matter expert, and you're speaking from that perspective, is where I think that's the line for me. Could you be a contributor? Yes, in a section of the book talking about people who are not indigenous, um, or not from that tradition, and how they might be practicing. In a section of a book, yes. As the whole book and you, the author, that's the line for me. Okay. Aphrodite chose me. They can die mad. That is funny. Very true. That, I think that's the line for me. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna be wrapping up here. I've been talking for a long time. I'm gonna be wrapping up here, but I knew this was gonna be a long one because I'm talking multiple pantheons, right? So a simple invocation ritual to call a deity. So an invocation is a way to invite a deity's presence into your space. This can be done for guidance, protection, or deeper connection, or whatever purpose you have. Here's some simple steps for a deity invocation. Set the atmosphere. Light a candle, burn incense, play soft music. Doesn't have to be all three, pick one. Um, Prepare an offering. Choose an item related to that deity. Again, honey for Oshun, wine for Dionysus, water for Yemaya. Enter a meditative state. Take deep breaths, ground yourself, focus on the deity's energy. That's high level. Whatever you do, for some of us, it's music, it's dance. For a lot, let me tell you, if you have not tried being alone, letting music play, it might be better. if it's in your ears, like headphones or something like that, because you want to create like this idea that like it's just you, and you know you're in a closed room, nobody else can come in, so you can dance like nobody's watching, and really just move. It's just moving your body. You pick the music that makes sense. That can put you in meditative state as well. Um, it doesn't have to, it's not a one size fits all, whatever that is to you. For some people it is just the breathing exercises. For other people it's, you know, they might have to do something, tap, or you know, drums, or hit something, and that gets them there, and you basically create a beat, sounds, rhythms, things like that. um, Next, speak their invocation aloud. Call upon the deity with intention and respect. Sunflower Thistle says, right, if you're outside the culture, don't set yourself up as an expert. Yeah, that's true. And the Empress Goth says, I have two friends who work with them, the Orishas, and work with them, and they are white. Okay. Yeah, working with, listen, work. Creating art is another great offering, by the way. Yes, that's, I agree. I've done that myself. That picture right there. This was an offering to Hecate. um, yeah, creating art is a great way to do that. And whatever your art is, that's where, you know, poetry, if you want to write that, if you want to speak some words, your charms. Actually, do you know writing spells is an art? Writing out your rituals, the performance of it all, your altar, all of that is creative. That's art. That's your art. Fun fact. So, yeah, that's the invocation. So I have something. It's it's high level. It's high level. I wouldn't tell you my exact words because I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to give you very high level. So, an example invocation to Hecate, right? Hecate, keeper of the crossroads, lady of the night and wisdom, I call upon you to light my path. Guardian of witches, protector of the unseen, lend me your strength, your knowledge, your fire. By torchlight and shadow, I invite you to walk beside me. I would take a few moments, see if there's any shifts in energy, um, you know, thoughts pop in, something like that. And then I would say, thank you, great Hecate, for your presence. May your guidance remain with me as I walk this path. That's very high level, you know. I kind of have like a template for this sort of stuff, just so you know, because I do this with my covenant, things like that. So this is very high level. But I wanted to give you something as far as invocation. Um, that's an example of an invocation. You can, you know, create something very similar to that. Um, if, you know, I talked about before wanting to work with a deity and how to go about it. So again, setting that the scene, set the atmosphere. Um, have something. Maybe it's art. Maybe it's poetry. Maybe you're going to speak a charm, or it's just water. Whatever that meditative state is for you, basically you're trying to have a switch from mundane to sacred. That's all. Um, for some of us, casting a circle gets us there. The process of casting the circle is introducing the meditative state. It has for me. And then speak that invocation aloud that you want. There you go. Get started. I enjoy talking. Helps with rough days. Good, good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. By the way, you would close that ritual, thank the deity for their presence, extinguish that candle or leave it burning safely. Reflect on anything, any thoughts, sensations, physical sensations, any messages received, anything like that. Uh, a reminder again, deity work is about respect, patience, and intuition. Encourage, you know, no, I don't want to say it like that. Try to remember to go at your own pace, whatever that is. Um, be open, but have discernment. I'm trying to like say all the things. It's deeply personal. Working with deities is very personal experience, and it should be reciprocal. right? If you feel like a deity is calling to you, or if a deity calls to you, take your time, build that relationship, that connection, and always approach her with respect. I do just want to say, if you feel like you're constant, we talked about this when we went over the book, when I did the two-part for that book. If you are having a thing where you feel like your deities are asking you to do something to harm yourself, animals, people, whatever, you know what, take a step back. Well, that's how they did it in the old ways, so they're really gonna bless me because that's how they did it in the old ways. Do some origami with the animals, like Dylan said. The let's not actually go hurt anybody or hurt ourselves. Let's not do that. Um, if it doesn't feel right, stop. You don't have to. And at that point, is this the deity for you? Or is this even the deity? Are you working with a deity or are you working with something else? Thanks, Gemstones. Just my final thoughts. Not to scare. I don't like scare tactics and trying to scare people, but I'm just being honest about that. Like, because that's real. Like, maybe you're not even talking to the deity that you think you're talking to. And if you need help with that, go to leaptaken.com. I do offer services called Ask a Witch, and I would be more than seriously, I would be more than happy to help you with that. Um, yeah, deities are powerful allies in your spiritual work and connecting with them. Again, it's personal and part of your journey. Hopefully, you learned from this, and from the chat alone, people were dropping some good information in there as well. I hope everyone has a good rest of their week. Um, Great time to work with some deities because let's try to flip some of the craziness that's happening um, around the world in our country here in America. So yeah, let's try to do that, shall we? And see if we can make some changes. Okay, that's enough about that. That's most likely not the deity. Correct, Dylan. Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody. Like, subscribe, share all that YouTube stuff. It actually helps. Please like this video, please, if you have not already. Subscribe if you would like. Hit the join button to join Leap Taken membership. It supports the channel, aka moi. And there are perks like 40% off everything over at leaptaken.com and member only videos as well. All right. So now I'm done. All right. Thanks. Bye.